Hello everyone, and welcome to this special edition of our corporate series of Women in Leadership in Nigerian Breweries. And I'm excited to be sitting down with our leaders in Nigerian breweries, our female leaders. And we're celebrating them today. They've been shattering the glass ceilings in a new generation of leaders in Nigerian breweries and outside. And please help me welcome to my left, our Digital and Technology Director, Phil Aneke. Welcome, Phil. And to my right, our Human Resource Director, Grace Omo-Lamai. Welcome, Grace. And to my far right, Corporate Affairs Director, Sade Morgan. Thank you for joining us here. We're going to be having conversations about life, about careers, and about just growth and development. So your career journeys, how did you get here today? What led you here today? What choices did you make that made you into the person that you are today? Phil, let me start with you.
Basically, I would say it's my love for experimentation and curiosity about life generally that led me here. I could be classified as a non-tech in tech because I am a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. But in my routine and in my work, I thought technology was a new frontier. And basically what that did, I started involving myself in projects that had to do with technology, change management, and eventually the organization gave me the opportunity to even go abroad and do an international exposure where I was responsible for an ERP implementation, and the rest, they say, is history.
A non-tech in tech, I've never heard that before, but I love it. Thank you for sharing. So let me go to Grace. Grace, you're leading the people agenda in such a big organization like Nigerian Breweries. How did you get here?
Not many people know that I actually started my career in the banking industry. So first job was in the bank, and I was actually a pioneer employee, and that's EcoBank Nigeria today. So I started my journey in the bank, and I grew all the way up to deputy manager before I decided enough of banking. I want to do something else. I wanted to explore myself more, work somewhere else. And then I found myself in Michelin, Nigeria. And that was where my career in human resources started. And it started as an experiment because there was indeed a need. And one of my bosses at the time thought that, okay, with this job that she had been given, she could only think of one person that could come and help her solve that need. And then I was pulled in, and I never looked back. You serve people, you don't always get it right all the time, but the few people that come to you to tell you thank you for what you said, what you did, that counsel you gave, the way you served me, those are the days that I live for. And I love to do that. And that's how come I'm here today. Thank you.
HR and service. So to anyone listening, if you love to serve, maybe HR may just be the field for you. Thank you, Grace. So Sade, I wanted to check with you. Now you are responsible for stakeholder engagement, public policy, corporate communication, sustainability, and responsibility. I'm just thinking, what significant choices did you make in the past that led you to where you are today?
It's really been interesting listening to Phil and Grace's journey, and it made me reflect on my journey as well. And I don't know how many people know, but my background is actually in law. So I started out as a practicing lawyer, and I worked with two law firms over a period of about 11 years, and I actually rose up to become senior associate, specializing in intellectual property law. What led me out of practice into the corporate world was actually, I would say, being a mother and wanting to have more balanced hours. In the law firm, we could be preparing for a court brief till 11 p.m. So when I heard there was an opening at British American Tobacco, they were looking for someone with IP law expertise and could speak French. So I crammed all my French for the interview. And I was lucky and I got the job, and I ended up working with BAT for 11 years, eventually as legal director for about 5 out of those 11 years. And then there was an opportunity again to move to Nigerian Bottling Company under the Coca-Cola brand as the bottler of Coca-Cola Hellenic. And that was actually what led me to what is my original love. And that was communications. my ambition in life was to be a newscaster. But my father then said, when I put in for mass communications, you're studying law. And as an obedient child, I did that. So an opportunity came up in NBC to combine the legal role with the public affairs and communications. And I did that role. I loved it. Then I got an opportunity to come to Nigerian Breweries as well. And today I'm corporate affairs director. So how has that journey influenced what I do in my role and what my values are? I think I've been very lucky to have had the benefit of being a lawyer and then now being a corporate affairs professional, because I bring that scenario mapping, that stakeholder management, that advocacy into everything I do on a daily basis. So I would say, as a woman, it's good to, at times, be selfish about what it really makes you happy. Let that inform the choices. I left a very high-pressure job to come into corporate, but at the end of the day, it also paid off.
I love what you said about as a woman, being selfish about what makes you happy and let that guide your decision. So, and there's something that I picked across the 3 stories that we listened to just now, that 3 of you didn't start out where you are today. You all pivoted into where you are today. So it's just shows all of us that there's nothing that we can't do once we set our minds to it. I think that's a big lesson. But I'm certain that you face challenges along the way, and that's what I would like you to speak to. What are those challenges that you faced along the way, and what are the lessons that you learned that you would like to share with us? Let me start with Sade.
Okay, I think for me, 2 challenges I faced. One would be innately, even though I'm a lawyer, I can be a very soft-spoken person. I know some people will find that hard to believe. And so when I started sitting on a management team, the first time I became legal director, that was in BAT, I remember just interacting and making my voice heard was actually not just a walk in the park. And I got feedback eventually from one of my colleagues who said, why is it that when you speak, it's as though you're asking for permission and your voice is so low? And this is me that had been a litigator in court. So I said, because I feel I'll be shouting. He said, okay, so shout, project your voice. And so every time after that, I started to really project my voice. And even in my head, I would think I'm shouting, but clearly that was the right pitch. So after that, I think it made me appreciate how important it is when you sit on a management team, you sit on a board. It's so important as a woman to make sure that your voice is heard. It's so important to learn those communication skills, and here I am as a communications professional in quote, but to be able to speak articulately, audibly, no fillers, no you-knows, it makes it even more powerful and influential. So taking from that challenge, that was my learning. And I think the second thing really was just having that confidence anytime you get into a new role. How am I going to succeed in this role? And the secret to that is just go and literally do your own masters in everything that needs to be. You need to deliver on the role, get knowledgeable, and that will give you the confidence that you need to be able to succeed and to create, the credibility you need.
Stop being apologetic. Speak up. Shout if you have to, right? I love that. And I also love what you said about being knowledgeable, because once you have the sound knowledge, no one can take that away from you. And that helps your confidence, that helps your credibility. So thank you. How about Grace? Challenges along the way and the biggest lesson that you learned that you want to share with us?
Okay, I don't know about lessons because I think we learn every day. Every day is an opportunity to learn and be better or do better. But challenges along the way, there have been many. When I started my career, first of all, I've never had a job that was very easy. I've never had a job where, maybe until these recent times, where I have to leave the office at 5 o'clock on the dot and I've closed for the day and that's it, I'm not going back. From the very beginning, I've always worked hard, long and hard, as in roll up your sleeves, work long and hard. And you can imagine what that does to a family when you start to have a family, right? So for me, that was a big challenge, especially as I was growing in my career and I had to at some point leave my home to go on short-term assignment outside of the country. I had 2 young children and a husband. You know, how would I do that? How would it be? But I was fortunate that in that situation, my husband was there to always, you know, cheer me on and tell me, listen, go, 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 you can do this. I'll cover the front. So for me as a mother and as a wife, it was indeed challenging for the entire family as I grew my career along the line because I was not there. Not being there physically means you are not there. You are not there to cook the meals. You are not there to take care of the children, do the things that, you know, women do best at home. And so how would you cover that front? But I was very fortunate to have a husband who was understanding, who was caring, and who wanted to, in every way, see me succeed. So making that sacrifice on his part was very, very important for me to grow. And that opportunity, that first opportunity for me to do a short-term assignment then made me even take leaps and bounds in my career growth because from a short-term assignment, I then now moved to another country on an international assignment, and those are the building blocks that actually led me to what I am today as Human Resources Director. If I didn't have that cover, that family cover, then probably my career wouldn't take off. So I know that this is a challenge that women today face, how to be able to balance the home front and the work front and at the same time grow your career. And it can be quite tough because for that you need a support system that really helps you, that really pushes you, that understands that at this point in time this is the sacrifice that needs to be made and who is it that's willing and available to help make those sacrifices, and hopefully there will be the right sacrifices to make and things will not suffer. So that is a major challenge that I know that a lot of women face, and a lot of times when we see women grow in their career and they get to mid-career level where they would pivot to the next leadership level and they cannot do that is because somewhere along the line that family support, that home support was absent, so they needed to make hard choices and maybe take a break for a while so that they could go take care of those things that other people can't take care of before coming back to their career, if ever they would come back to the career. And that's why you see that, you know, oftentimes they talk about this broken round, and it is because of the realities of life that really happen.
Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing that profound story. I think I have to say hats off to Mr. Omo-Lamai. Thank you for the support that he gave you, and to all the men and allies out there who are amazing support systems and allowing women chase their dreams and, you know, achieve that career ambition. So thank you so much. And so I'll go to Phil as a non-tech in tech leading, you know, men and women in tech. That must not be easy. That's not easy at all. So I would really like to understand the challenges that you faced, especially for young women out there who are interested in, you know, tech and the tech industry. What are those challenges? How did you overcome them? Thank you.
One thing I think helped was unconsciously I was looking for mentors. And there were not a lot of females in tech. So I was lucky enough to be in touch with a few men that supported my journey. And one advice I got was, it is actually a compliment to the other person when you ask for support or help. And when I got that and I internalized and unpacked it, it freed me up basically from thinking I was bothering people when I asked them for support or for questions. And I basically saw it now as a kind of exchange of compliments. I feel you are knowledgeable enough for me to ask. And let's be aware that in those occasions, reverse mentoring also takes place, because then I heard some of the people that supported me telling me that, oh, by asking me those questions, you triggered something in me to do other stuff, right? And the other thing that I could take as a learning from this whole moving from finance field to tech field was basically always preparing my team to be able to make me redundant, right? So I kind of also got that advice from another mentor that because I was very ambitious, I wanted to do stuff, that the more I wanted to move, the more I needed to prepare my team to ensure that they made me redundant in that position and freed up the organization to give me something else. So those are two nuggets I can share.
I love that. Thank you, Phil. It just also resonates with me because growing up, there's something my dad used to say and stuck with me till now. My dad would say, a success without a successor is a failure. So it just always made me know that whoever you're working with, it's important that you also equip them with the skills so that you can be redundant and you can move. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so let's talk gender equity, equality. IWD is around the corner, and the theme for the year is accelerating action. So I want you to share how Nigerian Breweries is accelerating action, helping to bridge that gender gap and work towards gender equality.
Nigerian Breweries is doing a lot. Being part of the Heineken diversity, equity and inclusion agenda, a lot is being done to ensure that women are able to bring their value to the table. Let's talk about the major thing that Grace was talking about, which is the work-life balance, right? So in some of our locations, we now have creches. Having children is one thing that sometimes prevents women from being able to contribute. By taking care of that, you make it a level playing field. But it's interesting that when I look at my associates, because my team is not full of women, as you can imagine, it's a tech field, but my associates that are men are actually the ones benefiting the most from having the crèche, because they are able to free up their own wives to do other stuff by bringing the children to the crèche here. So sometimes you do stuff you think it's aimed at women, but it actually works in favor of both genders, boosting the inclusivity. So I'm going to stop there so that my colleagues can add some stuff.
Before I go to your colleagues, I also just wanted to pick up, you said something around the people, most of your associates that you're leading, they're men. So it just tells us that girls, women, ladies are still underrepresented in STEM. What do you think, what is Nigerian Breweries doing, and what do you think organizations can continue to do to bridge that gap?
Okay, very good. One thing that we are doing is actively looking for partners. So 2 years ago, I believe it was, our corporate affairs got me a forum at Bayes University where I had a nice interaction with women in the STEM field. I also showcased the beauty of being part of STEM. There are several initiatives aimed particularly at women in STEM. For us this year, we are planning a few activities to showcase that digital and technology, for instance, is an area where women can bring their value to the table and where they can excel. And something else we are doing is looking for mentors, right? Looking for mentors within the industry, ensuring that there are women out there who can mentor women in this organization to think more about boosting their STEM careers.
So Sade, I want to ask you, Phil spoke about some of the things that we are doing as an organization, but if I were to ask you to call out one particular policy that strikes you as one of the greatest things to happen to women, helping to bridge that gender gap in MB, what would it be?
I think I'll speak from a sustainability angle, and the fact that we have set for ourselves targets for having a certain percentage of women in senior management. So that's a very deliberate and specific target, and to achieve that, it therefore means you have to be very intentional in your recruitment, in your training, in your promotion. So you set up panels, and Grace is sitting next to me. She really is the person driving this, but I'm speaking about it this passionately because it also, when we talk about sustainability being at the heart of our business, that DEI is central to that. And these things, you can wish them, you can want them, you can aspire to them, but if you're not deliberate and actually put the steps in place to make that possible, it's not going to happen. And I'm proud to say that we have, and I'm sure Grace will speak to that, we've actually been able to achieve that target. And I think another thing that I would just add is how do you ensure that you have a good crop of strong women that can actually take advantage of these opportunities? You also have to invest as a company. And we invest in women in leadership development. Phil just spoke about that. But actively, through the line, we also expose female managers to opportunities like the WIMBIS annual conference, to attend and be inspired and to learn from other female leaders, and also a directorship program that WIMBIS runs. So that way we continue to develop a crop of strong, powerful women leaders. So it does take that deliberate investment as well.
Definitely. I've attended a couple of trainings, so I can certainly attest to that.
Excellent.
And the fact that we have 3 women on the management team also says a lot about
Yes,
Nigerian
out of a
breweries.
management team of 9.
Yes, of 9.
Yes.
And D&T, which is a male-dominated space, a woman is leading that. So it's just brilliant. So thank you so much. But I also want Grace to build on that. And I'm going to ask you, beyond the representation, how are we giving women the power in decision making?
As you know, Nigerian Breweries is part of the Heineken Group. And what a group like ours does is that it gives opportunities to our people beyond Nigeria. And so even as Heineken, we've been very intentional about our DEI goals. We set for ourselves, like Sade said, a very ambitious goal in 2021 of having 30% of women in senior management positions. Before that time, we were not paying attention to women in the organization at all, particularly since our industry is very kind of like male-oriented. We brew beer, we brew beer, and we have operations that are night shifts, day shifts, very hard, not so sexy jobs, hardcore jobs. So we've never paid attention to all of that until very recently. So I can say Heineken came late into the party, but having realized that, Heineken really became very intentional and decided to accelerate. And I'll be happy to tell you that as a global company, we have met the target of 30% women in senior management position even before the time. And we have now set another ambitious target for ourselves to even increase that to 40%. And senior management position, that's like positions like ours, top level. So behind that goal, then it means that we have to be very intentional, like Sade and Phil have said. So we do have programs, to your question, that would help to bring this to bear. So one of the things that we've been doing is to actually look at our succession pipeline, right? So it's one thing for us to say we're setting a target of this much, but how do we meet that target? We have to start from the very beginning. So we intentionally look at our succession pipeline to make sure that this pipeline includes women. That's one. The second one is that even from the entry-level point, we want to make sure that we're able to attract more women into the organization. So how do we sell the opportunity of working in Nigerian breweries to women who may not know, who may consider such a company as this as somewhere that only men would work? So that means that we have to give them the opportunity to be able to see how it is like working for Nigerian breweries. So in supply chain, for example, where we have an opportunity to bring in a lot more people, we have what we call Women in STEM program. And what we do with that Women in STEM program is to get women who are ready to do their National Youth Service Corps program to come into us and do this program with us. So that way they spend that 1 year receiving training, purposeful training, meaningful training that would help them succeed in the operational floor. And after that training, they have an opportunity to get hired by the company as supervisors. We also have Women in Sales or Women in Commerce program, again, another area where we have an opportunity to take in more women. And there too, we're trying to see how we can get more women to be part of the field sales force. Not another not so easy job, but we do have women who are part of the field sales. And we see that really our efforts are paying off, because for the first time in the history of Nigerian breweries and in the history of the African Middle East region, we have a female that is zonal business manager for the first time since last year.
Wow.
So we see that, Chinwe Ude. So we see that these deliberate efforts are helping. Beyond that, there's also the development programs that we organize for women. So globally, we have the Women Interactive Network, and that is to help women to build their network, connect with mentors across the global organization, help them to really build their career and expand and really see what opportunities there are for them, areas that they can dream towards, they can aspire towards, and really grow. A lot of these programs, we try to make them inclusive. Yes, we started with the women, but now we realize that there are certain things that men need to know too. They need to know how to navigate their careers. They need to know how to grow. They also have work-life balance issues. So under that WinBe platform, we have now evolved into more inclusive programs where we have webinars or seminars that touch on parenthood, that touch on fatherhood, you know, and all of that. But one thing I would like to say is that in all of these programs, these DEI programs, we've always said that it's about meritocracy. What we want to do is to create the platform that enables as many women as possible to see that they can work here. But having attracted women into that pool, we have to then see how the women compete with the men, giving everybody a fair and level playing field. So when we hire somebody, we're hiring the best. But how do we make sure that our shortlist is inclusive? We go out deliberately to make sure that we have a balanced shortlist. We have a balanced panel interviewing these candidates. At the end of the day, it's the best one that wins and gets the job. But do we realize or recognize that we do need to bring in more women into the organization? Because I tell you, in case you don't know, we have only 12.5% women in this organization. So we still need to bring in women in the organization. We realize that, and we go out intentionally to make sure that we bring women in. And once the women are in, how do we retain them? So the things that Phil said about the creche, there are even more things, lactation rooms that are coming in, push gifts that are coming in this year, you know, creating an environment that will enable women to want to thrive here, very important. And to succeed in doing that, we need men as allies, because like I said, there are more men. So if anybody is going to help these women succeed, it is the men. That is why we have to educate them with inclusivity training, just as the women, you know, our whole leadership leadership behaviors that really enable us individuals to lead the right way and create a safe, psychological safe environment for everybody to work and thrive here. So
thank you, quite intentional. It makes me proud to work for Nigerian Breweries. We've been speaking to our female leaders here at Nigerian Breweries, and you can see how sound and how brilliant they are. One fun question as we wrap up this session. Let me start with Sade. Sade, work from home or work from office, and why?
Work from office. just because diesel is so expensive. And right now, I'm always hot, so the AC is on 24/7. Yes, I know I'm not going to be popular for that answer, so I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone.
Okay, Grace, no, a different question. So, phone call or text message, and why?
why not in person?
In person? That means you always say you work from office.
No, I can explain that. I mean, for me, work from home, work from office, it's both. I think today, no matter how, I mean, I know things are changing, right? Lagos State has asked its people to come back to working from the office, but you can never really take away what technology can do. Today, it's everything.
Everything
in
works.
person, work from home, face to face, phone call, text messages, WhatsApp. Phil won't be happy to hear WhatsApp.
I was going to ask Phil because she's the tech leader to say, is it phone calls, text message in one bucket or in person? So I wanted to know which one you pick.
I think a hybrid works for me, right? Just like Grace. Yeah. So for some people, I want to be right in front of them. There are some conversations you can only have eyeball to eyeball, personal in your face, yes. Yeah. And there are some conversations that, you don't want to miss out on the meaning, so you actually write it down in an email or whatever. And there are some you can do a phone call, a Zoom call. You can save money for virtual conferences. Right now, most of our meetings are hybrid. So indeed, it's a whole. Let's take the technology, but I would not want to miss out that personal contact. Yeah.
So I just wanted to check where we are going as a business. Hybrid. Okay. Phil, I wanted to check with you if there's one person that you would like to have dinner with, dead or alive, who would that person be and why?
And difficult to narrow it down to one person. I would pick Sheryl Sandberg first, because for every person in tech, we know that this is a lady that's a trailblazer. She was once CEO of Facebook. She's written a book called Lean In, doing wonderful things for women and women inclusivity all over the world. But I would also pick Michelle Obama. I mean, who wouldn't love that lady? I mean, she is just in your face, intelligent, she's poised, she's charming, a great supporter of her family values. I mean, so those two ladies. I cheated, I know.
I know, you cheated. And you were describing Michelle Obama and it seemed like you were describing yourself.
Oh.
Thank you so much. It's been an exciting conversation. As we close, I would like to just hear your final words. Let me start with Phil again. To that young lady who is intimidated by the tech industry because it's just all you see is tech bros. What would you say to her?
To that young lady, and maybe that was myself 30 years ago, believe in yourself, right? Make sure that you are asking questions, that you are curious, that you look for mentors, look for people who have gone ahead of you. There's nothing wrong with standing on the shoulders of giants. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. But the most important thing, young lady, is believe in yourself.
Thank you. Believe in yourself. Sade, to that ambitious young woman who wants to be a C-suite executive, what would you say to her?
That's a young lady. I would, we've talked a lot about working hard, but I think there's something that we tend to miss as a lot of the time as Nigerians, because we have this inherent modesty, is to create visibility. Create visibility about your work. You are in a forum, be visible, ask questions, just as Phil has said, volunteer for projects. So it's one thing to work hard, but you also need to work smartly, and that includes visibility. And then I think another thing that I would love to add on to that is then as you rise up in your career, it is important, don't believe you can do it all, okay? It's important to learn how to delegate, how to work through others and even empower others. It's so important to, I think one of the things I've always focused on is building strong teams. Because when you're only as strong as your team. And when you allow your team members, you give them those opportunities, you help them to thrive, guess what? It's going to create that pedestal for you as well to be able to move. So when I look at my past career and roles that I was able to take, it was really because I was able to have a strong team and the succession pipeline. So it's so important to also build that. So those are my two leave behinds.
And Grace, what would you say to that young lady who wants to be a successful leader like you?
One thing I would say is be true to yourself. when we see people, we like what we see, we like who they've become or who they are, we want to be like them, but we have to check and see whether that's who we want to be or we want to be somebody else. So it's very important that as we grow along the journey, we continue to interrogate ourselves, to ask whether we are being true to ourselves and whether we are telling ourselves the truth at any point in time. And that's what I tell my daughter today. I ask her every day, are you being true to yourself? And what that involves is whatever field I've chosen to play in, am I happy? Do I wake up every day feeling happy despite the challenges that come along the way? Because really challenges will come, and those are the things that really help you to grow. So you don't shy away from challenges, but you ask yourself the question, despite the challenges, despite the whatever, am I still happy doing what I'm doing? Do I still want to continue to do it? Or am I trying to be who I am not really, Or am I just, pretending there's something I like, there's a model I like, and I want to take that model, even if that model doesn't suit me? It's important for us to do that search, because when we do that and we're able to answer that question rightly, we might probably tell ourselves, this is not for me, that rather is what is for me, and we can pursue that with passion and with integrity in the sense of the wholeness and the consistency of pursuing what it is that sets our heart on fire. And when I have conversations with my daughter every day, I keep on checking with her. Do you like what you're doing? Do you continue to like it? And she tells me, yes, mommy, I like it. Despite all the challenges, I still like to wake up and do what it is that I do. It's important for us women for us, not just women, everybody. If you can't tell somebody else the truth, do not shortchange yourself by not telling yourself the truth. It helps you to liberate yourself, liberate your thinking, and be true to yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Sade, to Grace, and to Phil for sharing your inspiring stories with us today. Your stories have been so great. We've learned a lot from your experiences, and I'm sure that everyone watching has learned so much from you today. Your resilience, your passion, your hard work, so admirable. And I know that every woman watching this episode today is taking a lot of things, and we're all going to apply it in our work and in our daily lives. And I want to say thank you to Nigerian Breweries for this initiative, Women in Leadership. And I want to tell you, anyone watching this today, just stay true to yourself, keep working hard, make sure that everyone is seeing your works, remain visible, and don't be afraid to pivot if you know that there's something else that you want to do. Believe in yourself, stay shining, stay true, stay inspired. Thank you.